is there faith and spirituality themes in Disney's Brave? Welcome to this episode of Disney Church, where we discuss faith and spirituality in Disney films. Whilst religion isn't overtly present in the film Brave, it does have a lot of faith and spirituality in it, I think. And particularly for me, I resonate a lot as it connects in with some of the Celtic, nature, mystical spirituality of Scotland, obviously where it's set, and some really interesting themes about free will and destiny. I think it's a really interesting conversation. Merida is a Disney princess, but she's not one of the pretty pink princesses. That is hard to say. I've had a few takes at that. She's not one of those that has no agency in her own film. A lot of the plot is driven by her choices and actions and ultimately the consequences of those. I suppose that's the case for most films, but when we're talking about free will and destiny, it's quite interesting. For me, faith is about a way of life, and so thinking about the consequences of our actions and about how we live in our life is a really important aspect of how I live out my faith. Ultimately, like many protagonists, it's a story of self-discovery, spiritual maturity. To me, themes like that are always going to be spiritual in nature because they're about exploring ourselves, in looking inside. There's probably some symbolism with, transforming into a bear. I'm sure there's all sorts of Scottish links here, and I don't know, I've not really researched any of it, so look, someone else probably knows more than me. But let's talk about the wisps, the standing stones. There's a lot of history and faith and spirituality mixed up in all this tradition, folklore, all that sort of stuff plays into these conversations. It's really fascinating and interesting. I'm not sure though, personally, I really believe in destiny. I'm very much that we have free will and that our path isn't laid out before us. A theme of the film obviously about can you change your fate? These conversations often force us to ask ourselves about how much does God intervene in human life with suffering and free will? Where is that line? I don't think these days I believe in a God that intervenes. I don't believe God is a separate being that has the ability to fix all our problems in the world. My conceptualization of God is much more similar to the Celtic and mystics' understanding of God being inside ourselves, inside nature, being present in all things, the interconnectedness of life. We are the ones that can change our fate and bring about God's actions in the world. And of course, a prominent theme in the film is reconciliation with a mother and daughter, and that has parallels to faith themes of forgiveness. There's another one, faith themes of forgiveness. For me, my faith tradition coming from the words of Jesus, but whatever that is for you. As a Pixar film, not one of my favorites. These days I prefer it a lot more, but I'd love to know what you think. See you next week!